I usually don't like live recording battles because there's not nearly enough time to analyze things as in depth as I'd like. But I saw that this game was going on just now, and I decided to seize the moment, and we're coming in a little late. But don't worry about that because we are going to analyze the game in depth afterwards. So let's just skip through the first two turns because I don't even know what happened. I just started. T-Tar lead, Skarm lead. Okay, so Skarm's going to want to spike against T-Tar in most cases because it's not going to, unless it has taunt, which most lead Tars don't, then it's not going to prevent it from spiking. That Tar does not have lefties, so either Itemless Thief, which is more likely, or Salic Berry, which is very cool. And then a switch to Suicune as Rob goes to his own Skarm and gets up a spike on the Suicune, surfing it for a pretty hefty chunk. And Blissey gets roared in, and H-Clat likes to talk about how bad Blissey is, which is silly, but then uses Blissey anyway, because that's a very common occurrence that top players will talk about how bad so-and-so is, whether it's a set or a Pokemon or whatever, and then they bring it to a tournament, and the reasons vary. It's not always just like they're playing some sort of long con or whatever. I mean, sometimes that might be it, like especially if right before the tournament starts, they really start talking about how bad something is. But it also might be that they bring it because it's so unexpected, even if they don't like it, which I can sympathize with for sure. And then sometimes it might just be the demand because they might bring it even though they don't like it, just because it's unexpected, and that might make up for the fact that it's not so good in their eyes anyway. And it would catch their opponents off guard because the opponent's like, well, they hate Suicune and Blissey or whatever, so I'm not going to face them, and they might be weaker to them or something. Or they might just need a certain set of roles filled on a team, and then that Pokemon fits those roles. So they're like, all right, I will grudgingly use this because the team needs it. So a bunch of stuff has been happening. T-Tar tried to Focus Punch Blissey, and it stayed in Seismic Tossed. And then Suicune came in and ate a Rock Slide, which is weaker than Focus Punch, because Rock Slide, but Focus Punch is 150, and Rock Slide is not anywhere near that. It's not Stone Edge. But Rock Slide still did a hefty chunk because it is an offensive Suicune, judging from how much it took from that Rock Slide and from how much damage it did to Skarm. So it's Calm Minding and resting in Regice's face. So this is very clearly an offensive Crocoon. For those who don't know, Crocoon is Calm Mind, Rest, Sleep, Talk, Suicune, named after the guy who popularized Calm Mind, Rest, Sleep, Talk, Suicune in Gen 3 when it was the main gen. His name was Chromat. So I like those when there are sets that are named after the player that popularized them. I think that's cool. Not invented, obviously not. Like even if the set is fairly intuitive, then sometimes you'll get someone naming that Pokemon or that set after the person who made it popular. Even if it seems obvious, but no one gets credit for putting SD or Swords Dance on Garchomp, for example. That would be silly. It's like, yeah, okay, technically you were the first to open your team builder and put Swords Dance on Garchomp and finish a team with it and start a battle with it. Like, okay, that is not the same thing as popularizing it or inventing it. It's like, wow, look at that Pokemon with high speed and high attack and an amazing stab combination. Yeah, Swords Dance on it. No, I wouldn't have thought of that. Because we like to say that some things seem very obvious. Nice catch of the explosion there for H-Clat, who is putting pressure on the Regice with Suicune, with the boosted Surf not getting healed off in Sand, and it was in range of 2 more, so Rob blew up there to limit it, but that's not all bad. But yeah, to finish that earlier point, it's like, yes, there's some sets that seem very obviously intuitive, like how did nobody think of that before? But it's not the same thing as like SD on Garchomp, for example. Like a lot of sets we take for granted now, they were not obvious, or they were even laughed at, when they were first thought of. but SD Chomp is not one of them. So, to finish harping on that point, in advance, when you sleep talk like the way Suicune did, so it rested and then it sleep talked and then it switched. So that means Suicune still has 2 turns of rest, or 2 turns of being asleep. So that's how sleep talk works. You have to actually burn a sleep turn. And in comes a Claydol, which is going to clear the hat. Oh, never mind, it's not. There's a Gengar. But Gengar doesn't match up super well against a healthy Claydol, so that's the issue. But there's an Ice Punch. There could be a Destiny Bond. There's a Psychic, bringing it to really low health. Destiny Bond or Boom, both likely here. I mean, it's not like Scarm doesn't destroy Claydol one-on-one anyway, but I get wanting to maintain the pressure. I don't know, if I'm Rob there, I either Toxic or Drill Peck, depending on what I have, and I get some health back with Scarm, because that's really valuable. Or I guess you can, if you think the Claydol's faster, you can also Spike again, and make it keep spinning. So if it blows up afterwards, try to take advantage of Scarm at low health, you still have the spikes. So yeah, Suicune is still a very, unless that Blissey has Wish, which I think is really good on Crocoon like that, specifically to help with the issue of you're not always going to be able to burn through your sleep turns before switching out, and you don't want to be useless while you're asleep. So you kind of have a tough choice to make a lot of the time. And with Wish Blissey, then you are able to sleep talk and more effectively, and then burn through your sleep turns later and get some health back that you might have had to take while sleep talking, without necessarily having to rest again and getting locked into the cycle. So Scarm came in there trying to absorb a Boom, and this Gengar is really offensive because Fire Punch is not seen too often, and it turns into a Will-O-Wisp here as Blissey is burned and on really low health. So let's see how Rob wants to take advantage of this. With the spikes down, I don't know why it's only showing 2 spikes. He has 3 layers. It wasn't showing it earlier. Maybe we just have to, yeah, see, okay, we just had to switch perspectives there. But yeah, that was nice from Rob because, of course, H-Clad is smart, so he's going to think either Boom or Destiny Bond to not just let Gar get completely ruined by Claydol like that. So that was a nice heads-up play on a lot of awareness going into that, because a lot of the time it's easy to fall into the trap of what is or what you want to do and not take into consideration that your opponent might be aware of that and is going to. You think, oh, well, I need to Boom because the Claydol is going to KO me here, or I need a Destiny Bond or whatever. I think Destiny Bond is a lot safer to click, so I think if there was Destiny Bond coming, it would have been used there. Whereas Boom obviously has a lot more risk. But it's really easy to feel cornered in such a spot and go, yeah, I need to Boom here. Timer is low for Rob there, down to 30 seconds. And he does not... I don't know if I agree with that Ice Punch. He's got to be able to punish Blissey somehow. If it's at 40 and burned in sand with 3 spikes up. Like, he can go to Tar there, and I mean... Yeah, Claydol or Metagross are going to come in, probably Claydol, because it's Spikes immune. But, I mean, you welcome that. You got to have a better option of punishing the Blissey there. Because now, you know, it's obviously going to soft boil. If you don't have Taunt, then... I mean, maybe he thought he was going to get attacked on Taunt? But no, that doesn't really change anything. Because if it attacks you on Taunt, then it's still going to be left at 28 and burned with 3 layers of spikes in sand. So yeah, I don't know, that felt very wasteful. And now T-Tar gets T-waved, so that was yeah, I don't agree with that at all. And I mean, Blissey's not in a good spot here because that Fire Punch burn was quite fortunate, but even without the burn, then it's going to get forced into soft boiling anyway. And yeah, I guess it's hard to think when your timer's so low. Rob's at 15 now. 10. There's the Focus Punch, and it is going to clock Suicune unless it full paras. Yep, down it goes. So Suicune gets sacrificed. Good choice because it's not going to be too useful. And now in comes Claydol, and if Scarm comes in, it can get boomed on. but it's very likely going to be an agility rock slide Metagross there. This is a perfect team structure for it. So, yeah, I don't think there's a... Oh, he's just going to stay in an attack. Nice move. And he HP bugs. Solid. So now the Claydol is in Gengar range. Well, it's actually the Claydol's not even going to... Oh, nice switch to Scarm there. But now the problem is Claydol can boom. Do you protect? If you have protect, you definitely use it here. You can't just let Claydol blow up on you. Because what else is he going to do? He can go to Scarm and Thief. Okay, but then you're going to get a bunch of spikes up. Oh, he just goes right for spikes, not fearing the... Nice move. You know, that was another really nice aware play on Rob's end. He knows, okay, I have to protect, and H-Clad's not going to boom into that. So he's going to go to Scarm, which is a safe move. He's going to try and get the Thief off for free on the protect, and instead he gets a spike, so he has done something with it. So that was really nice. I definitely can't let the Scarm get thiefed. Oh, it's Rest. Is that Rest Chesto? That's funny. Okay, because I was thinking there's no way you let Suicune get thiefed here. So it's Rest Chesto, but it's... Oh, it is Thief, but with Rest Chesto. That's very cool. Well... So yeah, now the point kind of stands. I don't know why Suicune was getting thieved there, when you could have just let T-Tar take it. I don't know. That felt inefficient. Now Suicune is just dying. Rob's last is definitely going to be Metagross or Claydol, I think. I mean, feasibly Jirachi, but I think you need more DD Tar help on this team. So one of Metagross and Claydol actually hit DD Tar quite hard. So, and Metagross is better against Aerodactyl, and this team really could use help against Aerodactyl. So my money's on Metagross. So, I mean, he's still putting a good amount of pressure on H-Clad here with Focus Punch, because Claydol, yeah, good move, and Scarm's just going to pressure with spikes. That's fine. 3 layers, no full para, but that just means more lefties for T-Tar. But it's not going to make a difference because he gets chased out by Metagross afterwards. But at this point, I think you should preserve the T-Tar and go to Suicune, because Suicune has been rendered nearly useless. I mean, he might agility. Okay, well, he gets lucky with a mash miss there. I was gonna say H-Clad might even want agility, because he's looking like with a flinch on Scarm, then he might be in business for a sweep. But I guess he also doesn't have to rush it. Now, if the Suicune has Roar... Actually, no, I don't think you need to Roar here. I mean, it would definitely ruin Blissey. I think you just Surf, just in case Metagross does something, you know, silly like stay in. Well, I guess Blissey switching in is also a risk. Yeah, there's not really a great move either way. H-Clad's last could be a number of things. I would not be surprised to see a Salamence, just because it helps against a lot of various, you know, quote-unquote nonsense. And it's fast, which is really important, because H-Clad's team is really... I mean, there's a lot of things that could be there, like Gengar, Jirachi... Well, actually, no, I take that back. Not with Metagross. Gengar is quite likely. Also because it's fast and it has similar resistances to Ments. Well, I don't agree with that rest at all. I mean, he gets lucky to roll a +1 Surf on the Metagross, and now it's in Gengar range, at least. So, yeah, that... wound up working out, but I don't know about that rest at all, because you can just rest on Blissey if you really want to. And also, this speaks to how valuable lefties on Suicune would have been, like getting EQ'd like that, yeah. Well, Metagross is going to get chased out, and Blissey's probably going to come in. I can't see Metagross just getting sacked here, because then if Blissey goes down, I guess, no, you almost kind of want Gengar to blow up on Blissey, because then Salamence, assuming the last is Gengar, Ments will kill Scarm, kill T-Tar, and the last has to be a Rock Resist. You know, and even if it's something like Flygon or whatever, Rock Resists don't do well against Mixed Ments. So, and you still have the Claydol boom, potentially, if it is like a Claydol of his own. So, yeah, I think you kind of... If it is immense last, which is quite likely, then you would not mind Gengar booming at all, because yeah, and indeed, in comes Blissey, gets Fire Punched, no burn this time, and that earlier T-Tar Para is really gonna bite here because now the Blissy's at high enough health to where it can stay in its Seismic Toss safely, and Rob can't Focus Punch. And with slower Rock Slides, you're not gonna be breaking through Blissey, so it can get ugly. This is incidentally why Brick Break on an attack invested T-Tar like this is really valuable, because people love T-Wave Blissey way too much, and they like using it to try and beat things that it shouldn't really be beating. And yeah, it's but he goes right to Claydol. Nice move, eating the Rock Slide. And I don't know, attack invested Claydol has a good chance to KO max HP T-Tar from here. Very good chance. But Rob's just going to go right to Scarm on the EQ. Very nicely done. And I believe he's out of boom range now. Oh, and he's faster, so he can threaten Drill Peck or... That's really important, actually, because it means that if Claydol spins, then... Oh, no, why did he roar? Why? Oh, I guess he's trying to find out that last, but I don't know. I don't agree with that move at all. I think you have to... Well, I guess if you Drill Peck into Mence, it's not great. But I don't know. It feels like spin to clear the field there is so obvious. And now, he's getting helped out by that mash miss, but I don't know. It's because I don't know. It feels like you really want that, want as much health as possible. So if he spins with Claydol, then yeah, you take that. But it's important because if Claydol spins, it's slower, so it can't blow up and deny Scarm spikes. If it blows up, Scarm will still spike before that happens, and that's really important. So, yeah, now he's got his spike for Metagross, but it's been healing with lefties. So, see that roar in with lefties against the Metagross. I mean, yeah. Income Gengar and the Seismic Toss. All right, and now Rob's at 15 on the timer consistently. It's hard to play with the time pressure like this. And now he's, I mean, look, H-Class switched Blissey into Gengar earlier, so I don't think it's... it is a Gengar, and he gets blown up. All right. Well, whatever that last is, I'm thinking it might not be a Metagross because it's refusing to switch into Blissey and help out. Like, if you're switching Gengar into Blissey like that, then it's... Yeah, if there was a Metagross, you would definitely be using it. Because Metagross matches up well against these Pokemon. So I'm just wondering what that last Rock Resist is. Whether it's Claydol or... I guess feasibly it could be some form of Jirachi. But Claydol switches in again on the T-Tar, which just keeps Rock Sliding into it. I mean, you kind of have to there. Gets sacrificed. There's no way that was living. It is a Metagross. Okay. And it's faster than the Claydol. So this is the... potential for the comeback. All right, so he's just being very careful with its health, which fair. Okay, he gets the agility off. I mean, agility Metagross is a phenomenal cleaner. So, wow, he might... Does he get the boost? No boost. I don't know the role of this mash off the top of my head. Not that Rob has any choice either way. I mean, oh, no, it just drops, and it gets the boost. I was going to say, because Gengar lives a mash from full, I believe. Wow. So I was like, would it not be better to go for the boost there? Yeah, Agility Metagross has really taken off as a late-game cleaner, especially with Rock Slide, so it's really cleaning late game and not being forced to boom on things like Zapdos. But yeah, that Gengar felt like it. Well, I mean, you still got to connect Meteor Mash. But then again, Gengar's got to connect Will-O-Wisp. But he connects Meteor Mash, and that's a shocking comeback. All right, let's go over this game one more time from the beginning. So, good opening with the Focus Punch. Yep, and the Thief Scarm. Now, you know why I didn't Thief that Tar. We got two very similar teams, actually. We got two modest Crocoons. Also, feasibly, if the Gengar is more offensive and not like a bulky Will-O-Wisp Gengar, as is the norm, then it might have just gotten clocked by Meteor Mash unboosted anyway. So, yeah. This turn is significant where Blissey stays in. I think when you've got T-Tar already switching into a Seismic Toss with damage, and you know that Blissey can sometimes stay in and do it can afford to take a Rock Slide here, so uh, I don't know. I think well, it's easy to say Focus Punch there, but I don't think that Focus Punch gets you enough to warrant. I don't think the upsides outweigh the downsides. There's not going to be a Pert switching in. Unlikely there's going to be a Flygon switching in, because Flygon is more for Superman kinds of teams which ignore spikes, and those kinds of teams do not have room for Suicune. So, Suicune pretty much screams Claydol support most of the time. And so Focus Punch isn't going to be good there. Rock Slide's effectively the same thing, except it messes with Blissey more if it tries to stay in and do this. And T-Tar's health is really important, so winds up Rock Sliding anyway, but with less health, and winds up hitting Suicune, so... I mean, the difference between Rock Slide and Focus Punch into Suicune is significant, but Suicune's also not going to be the switch most of the time. It's going to be Metagross or Claydol. And Metagross, yeah, nice, but you've also got a very healthy Skarmory. I don't know. So, Regice comes in. Regice is a pretty cool Pokemon. I still have my reservations on it, but I like... It's got good talents. Regice is going to T-Bolt, not do much at +2 special attack. So, to clear up those sleep mechanics, the way that H-Clat would sleep would have he would have to stay in again here and not use Sleep Talk, and then if he switched out, he would have burned both turns of sleep successfully. I think it's been a while since I had to remember this, but basically you can't use Sleep Talk freely and then switch out and have burned your sleep turns. You have to sleep without sleep talking in order to actually burn the sleep turns. If you're going to switch out, obviously. If you burn a sleep turn without switching out, if you burn a sleep turn and then switch out, then fine. But if you sleep talk and then switch out, then you're not burning your counter. This is why Rest Talk initially fell out of the metagame for a long time in 2015 when this mechanic was discovered. It was a big deal. Maybe I will make a video about it. Yeah, so Metagross comes in now on the boom, but it was still a solid boom because it neutralizes Suicune effectively, since it's going to come in at 46 next time with Sand and Spikes. This game is a perfect example on both sides of how killer Sand and Spikes are for Suicune's longevity, because it's such a bulky Pokemon, but with Sand and Spikes in the picture, then it's not exactly great at taking hits. So... Skarm comes in, there's more spikes, there's 3 layers of spikes, and Roar and Claydol comes in. This is why I have to make a video about the rise of Claydol, because it's not going to permanently keep all layers of spikes off, but the fact that it can reset pressure is so good. And it's also a great defensive Pokemon. It has Boom, so there's a lot of good stuff to it. Yeah, so Rob made some really nice moves, being very aware of how H-Clat was going to play around his threat of Boom. And then Blissey came in, and this Ice Punch, as we saw before, really that was really not it, because now T-Tar, because if T-Tar comes in on the Soft Boil, then it's not getting status or Seismic Tossed or anything, and Blissey is, really on the back foot, so because of the luck of that Fire Punch burn, so he still gets the KO on the Sacrifice Suicune, very nice. So. And that is going to be crucial for the Metagross endgame. H-Clat having a lefties-less Skarm, we know it's going to Resto Chest also, but these kinds of defensive cores, they get ripped apart late game once they're weakened by Agiligros. And, that goes for Rob's team, too. So both teams are using, spikes and an offensive Crocoon and Agility Metagross as a cleanup, and Skarm as well, and Gengar as well, of course. But yeah, that's yeah. Yeah, I think that that Thief was taking it from Suicune, because as soon as you see the Skarm without lefties, you can't it's gonna Thief, and T-Tar being so, I guess yeah, okay, I guess that Tar is still going to be somewhat useful for chasing out Blissey, because you don't want to switch Metagross into it yet. But if you get rid of the Skarm, because he's going to have to, he was clearly ready to I mean, he did sacrifice it. And then if you keep lefties on Suicune, then you don't need to chase out Blissey with T-Tar because Suicune will beat Blissey one-on-one, like, easily. So, yeah, H-Clat played really well for not getting fancy with the, around the paralyzed T-Tar and just going right to Claydol and pressuring. Both players played really well around each other's pressure, and that's, speaking of, not just the pressure in the game, but the pressure of the timer as well. It's such an important thing to manage. And it's why it's good to have your game plan set out earlier in the game so you're not figuring it out on the fly as the timer ticks down. So yeah, the Gengar gets boomed, and then I am wondering what Gengar set that is, because I thought it could have gone one-on-one with that T-Tar. It's, at low health, and I guess if it's like T-Bolt, Wisp, Taunt, and then Ice Punch or Boom or Destiny Bond or something, then yeah, maybe not. But yeah, especially because Claydol is free against it. But I guess you kind of... Yeah, because I don't know. I think the agility gross was kind of obvious because of... I mean, for the reasons we said during the as the game was going on. And you just want to... You don't want it setting up for free. But I guess it kind of gets that one agility no matter what you do. Which is what makes me think you had to just... I don't know. No, okay, no, I know. The move was to blow up with Claydol, not to EQ. Because you can't let Metagross get the agility. You have to burn it with Gengar. So yeah, you blow up with Claydol, and then you prevent Metagross from agilitying, and then you burn it with Gengar, and yeah, that's pretty much it. Instead of just EQing, because as soon as EQ gets, as soon as Metagross does this, then the rest of the game happens, and it's a very clear sweep. So you had to prevent it from agilitying on Claydol, because that was Rob's only out. So, yeah, nice move. Oh, another game just started, a Gen 5 game. So we will get into that momentarily. So, MASH, and yeah. Okay. Let's see the team preview for this one. Pause, first turn, last turn. Can we do that team preview thing? Okay, I guess we're not. Well, we got Sand against Rain, and ZF is using an unusual Rain team in that it doesn't have... Actually, you know what? This will be another video. All right. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next